narudi nyumbani. I'm going home. I'm going home.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Home Healing of My Emotions by Hadassah, where we fix what home broke and we believe that healing is possible. On today's episode, I'd like to congratulate everyone who's decided to start their healing journey. Anyone who's decided that they are tired of living in cycles and patterns that are unhealthy to them, and anyone who's discovered and realized that their soul, their joy, their peace is worth fighting for. I just want to say that is the best investment that you could ever give yourself, because once you're healthy emotionally, it affects and it spills over to every other facet of your life. It helps you make better decisions, it helps you relate well with people, and it also helps you make very judicious decisions, because you are not infiltrated by toxic emotions when you are making your decisions. It is a great gift that one can give themselves, and also it is a decision, an intentional and deliberate decision to say that this stops with me. That might have been a trend in your family, that might have been a trend in the generations before you, but for you, you choose to make a decision that it stops with me. You decide that my children, my children's children, and their generations to come will not be affected by the very things that affected me. So when you are pursuing your healing journey, it is not just for you. You are actually saying that you are actually doing it for people to come and for generations to come. That is worth fighting for. You want your children to have a healthy life. You want your children to thrive internally first before outwardly, because you understand once someone is stable internally, then they are not easily affected by external factors, because their inner strength is fortified. They are able to thrive and to survive amidst other external challenges. Actually, when people try to distinguish between joy and happiness, they say that happiness is influenced or determined by external factors. However, joy is an internal thing, and that is the reason someone could be at a place or at a situation that demands for them to be down, but they are still happy. You realize that someone has lost their job, but they have joy in their hearts. You realize someone has missed an opportunity, but they have joy in their heart, because joy is an internal thing, and once you have it, then it is not easily influenced by what is outside. So I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for all of us that have decided that bad patterns, toxic traits, and unhealthy behaviors, they stop with us. We are the people who are going to stop, and we are raising a healthy generation to come. So on today's episode, I'd like us to discuss and to talk about what forgiveness is not. I know, especially in the Christian circles, it can bring about confusion, because when we are told we forgive as God has forgiven us, then we are not really sure. We are left at a place where we are not sure whether we need to still keep these people in our lives. We are not sure whether we still need to tolerate these people in our lives who have caused us hurt. We get confused about what forgiveness is all about, what it is and what it is not. I heard someone say that when the use of something is not known, abuse is inevitable. For example, this water bottle is used for water or for any fluid, for containing fluid. And if I decided that I'll now be using it to hit nails on the walls in my house and I need to fix something, it's just a matter of time, and it is going to go, it's going to get spoiled, it's going to get holes. Why? Because I'm not using it as the manufacturer intended for it to be used. So whenever a purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And if we are not clear and sure of what forgiveness is and what it is not, then we can end up making decisions that will continue keeping us held up in the dysfunction or behavior of a person who brought so much turmoil. So first things first, we need to understand what forgiveness is not, or rather what forgiveness is. So forgiveness is pardoning someone. They deserve to be punished. You deserve to be mad at them because they did something that caused you pain, that caused you bitterness, that caused you resentment, and they rightfully need to suffer for it. But you choose to pardon them, and you choose to give yourself a grace gift. You know, the efficacy of God's grace has been limited to salvation only. But we can see the grace of God in so many other areas of our lives. For example, when there are mishaps and we go out of the will of God, then we see Him extending even that grace to us, providing an escape plan whenever we have gone out of the way. So forgiveness is like you giving yourself a grace gift. You're telling yourself, I refuse to be bound. I refuse to live my life in such a way. Whenever I remember this person, I'm triggered. I refuse for my mood and my happiness and my joy and my peace to be determined by somebody else's dysfunction. So forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself. And the very first step, the second step of healing after identifying the area of your life that is affected, it is forgiveness. If you are the one who brought offense to your life, you got to forgive yourself. But on today's context, we are talking at a context where it is not you who's brought pain to your life, but other people have. And once you forgive, that is the only way that you are going to stop the person who hurt you from continuing to hurt you, because you decide to give yourself a gift and you decide to say, I'm forgiving this individual not because I love them, not because I actually like them, they hurt me, but I choose to forgive them because I love myself so much that I cannot live day after day in bitterness and in pain. So let's look at what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness does not mean you excuse the behavior of that person. It's true, I choose to forgive you for what you did, but I will not allow you in my space anymore for you to continue behaving the same way as you did previously. And forgiveness does not mean you reconcile the relationship. Sometimes it has to end, it has to come to an end. It does not mean reconciliation. Also, forgiveness does not mean you allow someone to continue in their dysfunctional behavior. You are not telling them that now because I've forgiven you, you can continue walking all over me, you can continue saying hurtful things, you can continue treating me as disrespectfully. You do not condone, you're not endorsing that behavior. And also, forgiveness does not mean you live without boundaries. And if your boundary is to block them, if your boundary is to delete their numbers, if your boundary is to move places, if your boundary is to say to them, you are not allowed to come at my doorstep, then you got to do that. You got to have boundaries so that this person knows how far they can go into your life. You got to put boundaries that this is the farthest that you can go. And to some, forgiveness does not mean to forget. It does not mean that you forget the offense that was done to you. I think it is only God who is able to do both, to forgive and to forget. But some of us, we choose to let you go. We choose to pardon you. We choose to say that you cannot, there's nothing you can do about what happened. But I choose to live my life not triggered by your actions. That my mood cannot be in the hands of somebody else's dysfunction. That my happiness cannot be founded on somebody else's behavior. And so you choose to forgive, but it is not always that you can forget. I believe that God is able to help us get to a place where we remember the pain we remember that we hurt, but we cannot actually remember how it felt. And finally, it is important to know that the person who hurt you cannot heal you. So what they did to you, you just write it off as bad debt, so that God can deal and heal your heart from the hurt that you experienced for their offense. We said that those people might never even realize that they broke you, that they hurt you. They might never see it. And if you just sit around waiting for them to come and heal you, then you are holding your healing. The person who hurt you cannot heal you. What happened to you was not your responsibility, was not your fault. You were taken advantage of, you were broken. They took advantage of your kindness. They were immature, they were stupid, they decided to mess up with you. That was not your fault, and you got to accept that. But for you to move past that offense, you have to make a decision and decide that you are being responsible for your healing. And so with those few points, I hope that we now understand what forgiveness is not. And forgiveness is also not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It takes a lot of strength to be intentional about your emotional well-being. It takes a lot of strength to decide that I will not be incarcerated or held down or bound by the actions of somebody else. It is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. You are actually a strong person when you choose to release person when they rightfully and legitimately deserve to be punished for what they did. And so once you realize that this person cannot heal you, you give up your rights to be hurt. You just say that all that they have done, they cannot remedy, they cannot rectify, they cannot fix it. And you choose to accept the blood of Jesus as the full and satisfactory payment for what they did. They owe you nothing. You write all their actions off as bad debt. And you start on a new page. You decide that what happened in the future cannot ruin my present. And you release them. So I pray that God is going to give us this revelation to know that forgiveness is not excusing a person's behavior. It does not always mean reconciliation of the relationship. You just decide, you'll go separate ways. Let's go separate ways. Let us grow ourselves individually. I love you from a distance. I wish you well, but you are not good for me. And it is also not to allow someone to live to continue their dysfunctional behavior, you set boundaries. And I pray and I hope that we are going to apply it effectively. We are going to understand exactly what forgiveness is and what it is not, so that we may walk in healing and we may walk in emotional freedom. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. Until next time, bye bye and shalom.